The storm came down the mountain without warning. Snow that had been light and harmless an hour earlier turned sharp and blinding, driven sideways by wind that howled through the pines like something alive. Mara pulled her coat tighter around her children and tried not to let panic show in her voice. "Just keep walking," she whispered, more to herself than to them. They had been traveling since dawn, her son Eli stumbling from exhaustion, little Rose nearly asleep on her back. The trail that was supposed to lead to the valley had vanished under white. Every direction looked the same. That was when she saw him. At first she thought he was part of the mountain, tall, unmoving, wrapped in furs the color of stone and bark. Then he stepped forward, boots sinking deep into the snow, shoulders broad enough to block the wind itself. The giant mountain man. Stories about him had followed Mara for years. Some said he lived alone because he hated people. Others claimed he'd lost his mind to the wilderness. Children in town whispered that he could lift fallen trees like twigs. Mara's heart hammered. The children froze. She swallowed her fear and spoke anyway. "Please, please don't leave us here." The man looked down at them, his beard crusted with ice, his eyes steady and dark. He took a long breath as if choosing something heavy. "I won't leave my family," he said. Mara blinked. "We're not." "You are now," he replied simply. He turned without another word and began walking uphill, away from the trail Mara thought they needed. Panic flared again. "Sir, the valley is." "My cabin is closer," he said, "and warmer." Trusting a stranger in a storm felt like madness, but staying meant certain death. Mara nodded and they followed. The cabin appeared like a miracle. Thick log walls crouched against the mountain, smoke rising from a stone chimney. Inside, it was warm, clean, and carefully kept. A fire roared to life with practiced ease as the man shed his heavy coat and set about working like this was not rescue, but routine. He wrapped the children in blankets. He set water to boil. He placed food, real food, into their trembling hands. Mara watched him closely. Nothing about him was careless. Every movement was deliberate, protective. When the children finally slept, curled near the fire, Mara spoke softly. "Why did you say family?" The man stared into the flames for a long moment. "Because once," he said, "I didn't say it fast enough." He told her then, of a wife lost to sickness when winter roads closed too early, of a newborn son who never survived the night because help came too late, of how the mountain became his penance and his shelter. "I stay ready," he said, "in case someone else needs me." The storm trapped them for 2 days. In that time, the children stopped being afraid. Eli followed the man everywhere, asking questions. Rose laughed for the first time in weeks. Mara helped with meals, with mending, with listening. She realized something terrifying and comforting all at once. This man had built a life around protecting people he hadn't even met yet. When the storm finally broke, the sky clear and cruelly blue, Mara prepared to leave. She packed what little they had, her hands shaking, not from cold this time. "You saved us," she said. "I don't know how to repay you." The mountain man knelt in front of the children, adjusting Eli's scarf, brushing snow from Rose's boots. Then he stood and met Mara's eyes. "Don't repay me," he said. "Remember me." They walked down the mountain together. The trail was visible now, safe. At the edge where the trees thinned, the man stopped. "You'll be fine from here." Mara hesitated. "You could come with us. The town, they'd need someone like you." He smiled faintly. "The mountain needs me more." She nodded, understanding. Years later, travelers would still speak of the giant who appeared in storms, who never asked names, who never left anyone behind. And somewhere deep in the mountains, when the wind rose and snow began to fall, the giant mountain man would listen, ready to answer again. "I won't leave my family." The mountain did not let go of people easily. Mara felt it as they descended. the way the wind softened behind them, the way the trees thinned as if watching them leave. Eli kept turning back, certain the giant mountain man would follow. Rose slept against Mara's chest, warm and safe, her small hand curled in trust. When they reached the valley, the town bells were ringing. Search parties had been sent out hours earlier, fear spreading faster than the storm ever had. When Mara and the children appeared out of the white, people ran toward them, voices breaking with relief. "Where did you come from?" someone asked. Mara looked back at the mountain, from someone who doesn't leave family behind. No one pressed her further. Life returned as it always does, but not unchanged. Eli began carving little cabins from scrap wood, stacking stones around them like walls. When asked why, he said, "So people can stay warm." Rose grew strong and fearless, unafraid of winter winds as if they had once carried her instead of threatened her. Mara tried to forget. But forgetting wasn't possible. Every winter, when storms rolled down from the peaks, she worried. She imagined the giant alone again, chopping wood in silence, listening for cries in the dark. She spoke his words to herself on the hardest nights. "I won't leave my family." 3 years later, the storm returned, worse than the first. An avalanche thundered through a northern pass, cutting off the old supply route. 2 men were trapped near the ridge. The town panicked. The sheriff organized a rescue, but no one knew the mountain like the one who lived inside it. Mara felt the decision settle in her bones before she spoke. "I know where he is." They protested. They warned her. But by dawn, Mara was climbing again, bundled against the cold, heart pounding with memory and fear. The cabin stood where it always had. Smoke rose from the chimney. She knocked. The door opened, and the giant mountain man stood there, older now, lines carved deeper by wind and years, but his eyes were the same. "You came back," he said. "So did the storm," Mara replied, "and there are people who need you." He didn't hesitate. They found the trapped men before nightfall, alive but barely. The giant carried one on each shoulder through snow that would have broken lesser men. When they reached safety, the town saw him clearly for the first time, not as a legend, not as a warning, but as a guardian shaped by loss and choice. That night by lantern light, the sheriff cleared his throat. "You could stay," he said. "We could build you a place." The giant looked at the mountain, then at the people gathered around him. Children watched with wide eyes. Adults waited, uncertain. Mara spoke quietly. Family doesn't always live in one place. He considered that. In the end, he did not leave the mountain. But he did not stay alone. A small shelter went up halfway down the trail, warm, stocked, ready. The giant split his time between peaks and people, appearing when needed, disappearing when the land called him back. Eli grew up knowing how to read clouds. Rose learned the names of trees before letters. They visited often. Sometimes they brought nothing but stories. Sometimes, when the fire burned low and the wind pressed close, the giant would look at them and say the words again, not as a promise this time, but as a truth already lived. "I won't leave my family." And the mountain, satisfied at last, stood watch with him.